Hello and welcome to Release Date Rewind. My name is Mark J. Parker and I am a film lover, filmmaker, film celebrator. And normally this is an audio podcast wherever you get your podcasts on your favorite apps. But thanks to Portland Media Center, you are about to watch the video component of this show where I celebrate movie anniversaries with my friends. Each month, I usually talk about 2 different movies that I love with different friends, and we talk about the making of the movies, trivia, any fun memories associated with them. So I hope you enjoy, because now it's time to rewind.
How do you feel about the interracial romance? 'Cause I know back then it was considered groundbreaking because it wasn't brought up, right? It kind of was just like these 2 people, and especially in 1992, especially when talking about like what was happening then, with like Rodney King and Malcolm X was like, Malcolm X movie was happening.
Yes.
To not have this whole talk about their race. And I remember thinking and hearing that was so groundbreaking at the time, but then now, like in the 2002 lens, I'm like 2022 lens, excuse me, like would that still happen today? Like it's just so fascinating.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like no matter what, the remake needs to be interracial. I think you bring up a good point. It's never talked about, probably because the script was written
in the 70s, but with Diana Ross though. Yeah.
I was going to say the script was written in the 70s, so most likely and no shade to Lawrence Kasdan, this was just how it was, that like big movies were just sort of like kind of written with white people in mind, sadly, right?
Yeah.
So I was going to say, but no, Diana Ross was always in the mix. So it's pretty cool, but I love it. I love that they're interracial, and I love that it's not a thing. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think it makes it sexier that like they just look at each other and there's no talk of race. There's not even like a joke that like, oh, this lame white guy, right? Like from what I remember from just watching it, no one adds in any sort of race context whatsoever.
There's one.
Oh, is there? Tell me.
Which is not it's not between Whitney and Kevin. It's the chauffeur, because the chauffeur, the black dude, he's like, he asked a question. I forgot what the question. I should have watched it. I can't remember the question. Who died or something? He's like, yeah, the cocky black chauffeur. Like, it's a joke.
Yes.
They're like smiling at each other. It's so great. Like, yeah, such good chemistry.
Yeah.
But
I feel like I think it actually would be okay to add in a little bit of race humor, but I don't know. I don't think we need to like talk about the interracial romance, because I love that it's just 2 people that are into each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It works for me.
Works for me too. Yeah.
Yeah. It just is surprising that back then they could have said something like that and they didn't, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
So let's put The Bodyguard to bed. That is it. That's a wrap on that. Thank you, Whitney, Kevin, everyone.
I have to tell you something before the others get here. This came in the mail at my parents' house the other day. No return address.
I know. What does that mean?
It came the day after we drove around.
Oh shit.
So someone saw us.
And you didn't tell me the second you got it?
I wanted to, it's just been a couple of days.
Shit, JC. The day after we hook up the first time in a while, you get this? Who do you think it was?
Maybe Bridget or Reese. They almost caught us that one time last summer.
Wait. This is a prank. Your house.
What?
We live in the Julie James house. You know the story. She gets a random creepy note in the mail, and then her friends die one by one. The Southport slasher.
Shit, the anniversary.
25 years ago. It's a dumb joke.
But we haven't gotten one of these in years past.
This might be some fun, scary story for y'all. A Southport slasher. But he was real. He is real. I've been seeing him at night. He haunts me. Not satisfied yet with his revenge.
I just want to nerd out with you because it also happens to be a big milestone anniversary for another Whitney movie that you and I both love.
Mm-hmm.
Cinderella, the TV movie Cinderella, which came out 5 years after The Bodyguard, came out on, it was aired, I should say. It aired on ABC November 2nd, just a few days after Halloween, November 2nd, 1997.
Yes.
Jason, what do you think of this movie? Because I'll tell you right now, I love it so much. Love it, love it. I still love it. I think it's great. I think all of the colors, both skin color, costume color,
Yes.
I love that they embrace color in every sense.
Every single
I think
way.
it's beautiful. What do you think?
It's literally magical. It's I mean, it's only Cinderella that matters to me.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
But I remember just like how exciting it was as a kid because you know Whitney, she was more adult contemporary in the 90s, right? So I felt like my friends weren't listening to Whitney Houston music. Like, you know, I was the only person watching The Bodyguard, you know?
Yeah.
So it was cool that like she was like part of like the pop culture zeitgeist for like I was in 6th grade. And I remember everyone watched it and everyone was talking about it the next day. Like, oh my gosh, that Cinderella was so good. Like, oh my gosh, like Whitney's the fairy godmother. Like it was just so much fun and like so like it was just everyone's so happy to see a Black Cinderella. Like, I'm from Bridgeport, so a very diverse school, and how exciting that was at the time. And you know, Black fairy godmother, and you know, it was the Asian prince. It didn't matter what their colors were. Like it was just like accepted, and everyone was cool with it. It was like theater. So I feel like that happens kind of in theater a lot. Like you know, when you see a play, you know, no one really cares that much unless you're doing like something that's historically accurate, I guess. But it was kind of like Hamilton before Hamilton in a way.
And that's so funny because Whoopi, I mean, we got to talk about the cast, but Whoopi, one of the cast members even said we were Hamilton
on The
before
View, right?
Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yes, she said that. And then I even saw, she said it in an interview, like maybe she's been saying it a couple times, but I mean, she should.
Yeah.
But the cast is such, I know we used to call it colorblind casting, but now color conscious or, you know, but yeah, genius casting. Not only for the talent involved, all of them are perfect, but yes, to not care about like skin color with moms and dads and families. It's like you said, it's like theater. It's like, I think that's why I loved it as well. Cause I was 10, I think in 5th grade when it came out. I was so super excited. Loved Whitney, loved Brandy. Like, oh my God. And then, of course, obsessed over Whoopi. Knew Bernadette. You know, oh my God, Jason Alexander from Seinfeld. I mean, and he is so good in the movie. So funny.
He kills it.
It's pretty impressive that when you look at the lineup of the leads, actually there are more people of color than people who are white, which is just so cool.
It's just cool. Whitney originally signed on. She was going to be Cinderella. Like she was going to play Cinderella, but then she thought she was too old when they finally got around. It was like in limbo for a little while.
It was in limbo for a little bit, right? I read, and you probably did too, that I forgot that Bette Midler did a Gypsy TV movie.
Yes.
I haven't seen that one. I'm not a huge Gypsy person, but I might check it out sometime because why not? But I guess that was a big deal. I think on CBS a couple years prior, like 4 years prior. And so Whitney, I guess, was inspired by that and went to CBS and said, I'd like to be Cinderella, right? But then for whatever reason, they were sort of dragging their feet. And so then she thought, I'm too old for Cinderella. And then she's like, you know what? I'll be fairy godmother. And it's perfect. I mean, I told my husband Greg this when I showed it because he missed it. He like didn't watch it, and I'm like, "How did you not watch it?" I watched it live.
Wow.
You probably did too. Did you watch it live?
Watched it live. Recorded
I was
on
like,
VHS.
"Give me more!" Oh my God! Yeah, it was Wonderful World of Disney. It was Sunday night.
Yes, every Sunday night, right?
Yes. Oh, it was like, I mean, take me back. Those were the days, and I remember watching and being glued and loving, like being on the edge of my seat when they are singing together. It's possible, impossible.
Yes.
Oh. And then how they belt it out at the end and they're in the carriage. And then the last shot before the commercial break was them belting it out and going to the castle. Chills. I was like, chills. Oh my God, this is amazing. Because I did you see any of the previous Cinderella TV movies? Because this was a remake.
Yeah.
Did you ever see
I don't think I saw the
There was
first one in the 50s. There was one
yeah,
in the 70s, right?
Julie Andrews was in the 50s, and then Leslie Ann Warren, who was in
That's
Clue,
the one.
she was in the
Yeah,
60s, and that's the one I saw.
60s.
Yeah,
That's the one I saw too. We
yeah.
used to watch it in middle school too.
Yes, isn't that
Yep.
funny? We would watch that, and I love the music, and I can't really remember that version as well as this one. This one is definitely more iconic.
Yeah.
But that one I loved as well. So I was familiar with obviously the story and the music, but wow, Whitney and Brandy and Paolo Montalban and even
Oh,
Jason
wait, he's so
Alexander singing
great.
his funny songs. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone brings it. Bernadette and the
Oh, she kills it.
stepsisters.
Falling in love with love. Oh my
Yes.
gosh. And I
Oh,
love
it's
that Whitney
beautiful.
was like, I want like it was no other Cinderella. You know, I think I read this thing that they wanted Jewel, like the producers wanted
Oh,
Jewel.
that's so funny. And honestly, I can so see it. It's so obvious, but come on, right? Like it's
You
so
know.
obvious. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but Whitney wanted Brandy and she like
She's got
yeah.
that like beautiful kind of like raspy
Oh,
voice,
yes.
right? Which
It's like
we already knew from her songs, but it
mhm.
adds such an interesting layer to the character, right?
It
And just
does,
that
yeah.
she's a little bit not so soft, not so girly.
Yeah.
She's got a little bit
Yeah.
of this kind of like edge to her, which is cool, I think. You know?
Yeah. She's like not so doe-eyed. Like she has yeah, like you said, she has a
Hmm.
little bit of edge to her. And I remember reading something also that Bernadette Peters, I think they were asking other actresses to be the stepmother, and none of them wanted to do it because they didn't want to be an evil stepmother to a black Cinderella. They were like
Oh,
nervous of how that was going to be perceived. And
yeah.
Bernadette was like, I'll do it. Like, yeah,
Yeah. That's
it's
a
acting.
really, I never really thought about that, but that's a really interesting worry to have. I get it. It's like, oh, you don't want to kind of make that look like, because I just immediately
Hmm.
think like, ooh, does it recall like themes of slavery and
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
that is
Hmm.
tricky, but knowing that Bernadette obviously is a theater person, it's like, whatever,
Yeah,
like, people who are best for the role are best
or
for the
best for the
role. So
role.
let's do
Hmm.
it. Right. And it
Yeah.
works so well. And I love that 25 years later, it's still so loved. Like there was that really cool reunion. Well,
Oh, I
reunion, but like
know.
that
On
ABC
Zoom.
special.
Yeah,
Yes.
oh, I missed that
Did you
special.
see? Oh, did
Damn.
you? Oh, check it out. Check it
Yeah,
out. And yeah, there was
yeah.
the Zoom reunion. But yeah, check out the
Hmm.
special. It's a little corny, and some of my coworkers worked on it from when I used to work on ABC. So you
Oh.
guys did great. But some of it's catered towards like little kids, and like they're dressed in the
Mhm.
princesses, and I'm like, no, talk to the little kid like in the adults, because like that's
Exactly.
cool. But
That
like,
was
no, talk to
yes. Taught
those
us.
of us who like were the kids who loved that, when it aired, right? And
Hmm.
they totally do. And there's lots of good sound
Good.
bites, and Brandy still looks stunning to this day.
She's amazing. I got to see her in Chicago when
Yeah. Oh
she did
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Broadway. She
Yeah.
was fantastic then too, and she like I loved Brandy back then. Like she was like my second
Yeah.
favorite after Whitney because of Cinderella. And I
Right.
remember she was just so kind. She like came to the stage door and she met with every single person, talked to them, like
Yeah.
very humble and very generous with her
I
time.
can't remember, and I knew I should have started writing a book about my crazy life in talk shows earlier, because now it's all a blur. But I can't remember if I met her or her brother Ray J or both of them
Oof.
at Wendy. It's a blur, and I can't believe I can't remember. I feel like I might have met
Wait,
them
you worked
both
at Wendy?
briefly. Oh yeah, I worked at Wendy. I was
Oh, we have
the
talk
talent
off
coordinator.
offhand. Oh boy.
This Sunday, the magic,
Who are you? I'm your fairy godmother, honey.
the music,
There's something familiar about that girl.
the masterpiece comes to life.
You may never find her. I've got to.
The Wonderful World of Disney and Whitney Houston present Jason Alexander, Whoopi Goldberg, Bernadette Peters, and Brandy. Together in the most magical event of the year, Cinderella, ABC Sunday at 7, 6 Central.
When Brandy sings in my own little corner
Oh
to that whole impossible. Oh, I love it. I love her rendition of that. It's so
yeah,
like I don't want to say sultry is not the right word, but it's like because she has that smoky tone and like
yeah. It's
they were saying
smoky.
she's
Yeah.
and she's not like this like doe-eyed little girl. She's like
Well, what's great is because Brandy was a pop star. The
mhm,
way she sings in my own little corner, it sounds like a slower pop song. Like
it does,
it
yeah.
sounded both classic and so
Mm,
modern at the same time, which I
mhm,
think is the whole movie in itself. It's a classic story, classic musical, but in such a cool modern. I was going to say boundary pushing, but that's not. There's no boundary.
yeah,
Whatever.
nobody.
But in just such a forward thinking and modern way. The whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
Yes.
special.
So I
Yeah.
love that into Impossible and It's Possible. It's so
Yeah.
good. It's so like Whitney flying in her like
Yes.
gold dress and her
Oh my
big
God,
puffy
yeah.
hair.
And the
She's so
CGI like
sassy.
sparkles and oh
CGI
yeah,
sparkles. I love it.
right? And it's fun seeing. I'm sure you've probably seen over the years like fun like behind the scenes footage of them singing
Oh, singing
together and like
together.
working together. Oh
Yes.
my God, electric! It's like where they're just
Mhm.
smiling at each other and yeah, I'm
Yeah.
so glad we have that TV movie. Like
Oh
it's
my
just amazing, and I'm
gosh.
so glad it's streaming on Disney Plus and like that because a lot of TV stuff still is just sort of like out in the ether.
Out
You have
there
to
on
like
like, yeah, really low
search
quality on
for it,
YouTube.
right? Yeah, so it's
Hmm.
great to actually have like real quality. Yeah, but check
Yeah.
out that ABC special. I think it's on
I
Disney Plus. When you
will.
have like
Oh,
45 minutes, you might
yeah.
like it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Did they talk
totally.
about how Whitney like wanted to be on TV because she wanted to give like as many kids access to it? Like, because
Yes.
it was gonna be in theaters originally, but then she was like, "No, like
Was
put
it?
I want it on TV." Yeah.
I love that. Super smart.
Hmm.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I could easily see it doing well on like in theaters as a film, but there's something so magical about it being in our homes. We didn't have to pay for
Yeah.
it. It was
Hmm.
coming right to us effortlessly. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was a really smart choice.
Everybody
Wow,
got
she
to,
was
it was
pretty
network
brilliant.
TV.
Yeah,
She
network
produced
TV.
it.
Yes, she
Hmm.
produced it. She was nominated for the Emmy with all of them for producing it. It won an
Yeah.
Emmy. It won for art direction. It was nominated for like 6 or 7
Yeah,
Emmys.
I wish it would have won more. It was so
I know, I'm
beautifully done.
surprised it didn't. Maybe, but
Hmm.
back then I was reading, some critics were a little mixed. Like some people loved it, some people kind of thought like, yeah, this is just for kids. Only as
Yeah.
the years went on did everyone kind of realize like, oh no, yeah, this was like
This is fantastic.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like wow, wow, wow. Like ugh, I'm just so
Yeah.
glad we could take a minute to talk about it because like wow, like I
Same.
know I missed the boat on Bodyguard until later in life, but I did not miss the boat on Cinderella. Like I was there, front
Yes.
row in the living room, like okay, this commercial cannot get over
Go
quick
fast enough.
enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Remember I was
right.
recording it. So I was like not trying to record the commercials. So
Yeah.
I was like trying to like be ready to press record when right get right
Oh
on
yeah.
like
Oh yeah,
yeah.
you're like,
Oh,
Mom, stop
so
talking to me.
good.
I like the button. Yeah, I
Gotta
remember the same thing.
focus.
Just like having your finger resting, and oh, you would hate it if you missed a second. Yeah.
In a second.
Kids now
Yeah.
are like, what are you guys talking about?
They
Recording?
don't know the
What?
struggle.
Right.
They don't know the struggle.
Hi, I'm Brandy, and you're watching TGIF's Frightful Halloween Bash.
And you can catch Brandy dressed up as Cinderella Sunday on the Wonderful World of Disney.
I wish that the Cinderella soundtrack was out. I think they need to get on that.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah.
Can they give us a soundtrack? Like I would
I
love
looked
to
on
have those
Spotify because I'm
things.
like, I want to hear some Impossible. And I was like, it's
It's not
still
on
not
there.
there. Yeah, that's
Ugh.
weird. I have a feeling we'll get it sometime soon.
I
I
hope
just have a
so.
feeling like there's now this like kind of interest in it again. And
Hmm.
with Disney Plus, I feel like we'll get it somehow.
Well, I think originally there was like not confusion, like they like Brandy's record label and the Whitney's record label were fighting over who would release it and get like the sales for it, which
Oh,
is
wow.
silly.
Hmm.
But like it's
That's
25 years
very,
later.
that's
Release
like
it.
very, that boy is mine. But
Exactly.
like instead of Monica, it's like Whitney. That
Yeah.
that soundtrack is mine, right?
Exactly.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's where my brain
yeah.
goes.
That's so
Um,
funny. The
And also
soundtrack
how
is
funny, because Victor Garber, who I love, he plays Whoopi's husband.
husband.
Oh, and by the way,
Mhm.
did you see that Whoopi demanded? I love this. She's so badass. She thought, I don't want to wear costume jewelry, and instead
Oh,
got
yes, the
Harry
real-
Winston jewels, like worth like
Mhm.
60 million. She was able to wear. I'm like,
Yeah.
that right there is an Oscar-winning A-list. Like she just let her work her magic, people.
She is the best
she's so
person
good.
ever. Yeah.
I love her so much, and it's so fun seeing her. And again, kind of like Brandy, someone that has a different kind of voice, not so
Yeah.
like clean. We get a little bit of a different attitude, a different sound, a different look, which is so cool. But how cool that Victor Garber was in this, and then just a month later was in Titanic. Wow,
Yeah, he had a great year.
he had a great year.
He had a great year. Hmm.
Right? Two major
Two-
moments in pop culture.
Yeah, just like which is off topic, but the dude who played the villain in Titanic, not
Billy Zane.
not Billy Zane, like the other
Oh,
guy, the
yes.
henchman.
Yes.
He's also in Scream 2. Like it also
Yes.
came out like within
A week apart. I love his scene in Scream 2. I love Scream 2 so
Yeah,
much.
me
But
too.
yes, a week apart. I'm so glad you know that, Jason. You are my people because not many people even know who you're talking about. I'm blanking on his name. David
Me too.
something. He
Yeah.
just passed away not that long ago.
recently,
But
yeah.
I think of how, wow, you had a sick double feature. Your December 1997 was like, wow, that's when you know you've made it, you know? Yeah, that's so awesome. Yeah. I think we reverse and get these two ladies bringing in the next batch of actors. Okay. I think. Even though you're kind of yelling at him, barely any energy.
Goes over to her, goes over to them.
I like horror stuff, so that would be fun. And I like to stretch myself, you know?
When I saw this on Facebook, I was like, okay, I've never met someone else that likes horror.
I know Mark through Algonquin Playhouse.
He had posted about this workshop that he was doing, actually up in Maine. It was York, Maine. I would say was the first class that kind of ignited more in me to continue going.
So I wrote to Mark and I said, you know, here's my stuff. If you're looking for an old guy in his 60s who doesn't know what he's doing, then I'm the guy. And he wrote back to me and he says, of course you are.
I DM'd Mark and I was like, can I do anything for you? I will literally just watch. And so he was like, you can intern. I was like, deal.
Mark emailed me after he wrote that line. It was like, I know who's playing this. Just really excited to be here. Yeah.
He's a great director. I love his feedback, great sense of direction.
I feel a bizarre connection now because I think it is every 5 minutes somebody calls me Mark. I do look a lot like him. No, I've never worked with him before, but I'm like, maybe we were separated at birth.
Welcome aboard, my friend, Katie Bruno. Welcome to the RMS Titanic.
Ahoy, Captain! There she blows. Wait, that's not it, but hi.
Oh, that's a different movie. That is a different movie.
That is. There was no whale in this.
Yeah. Or, things get sexual, but things don't get that sexual. So
yeah, it's PG-13, guys.
Right, yes, PG-13. Although, can we just say, I'm sure you and I did it a bunch of times. I and every other 10-year-old always did the hand on the foggy glass, right?
Yes,
it was such
that
a
was
moment
like
in our young
what we knew of sex at that age was hand on foggy glass.
Yes,
and that
I just remember even in like high school, like whenever I would be sitting in someone's car or whatever, I'd be like, all right, well, I gotta fog up this window and do the hand thing. I mean, I just have to, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. But anyway, so welcome aboard, my friend Katie Bruno. You are the Rose to my, am I Jack or am I the captain? Maybe I'm the captain and you're Rose DeWitt Bicator? Is that her name?
Yes,
her name
DeWitt
has always
Bicator.
confused me.
Yeah,
and then
DeWitt
later she became
Bicator.
Calvert, right? When she
No,
married someone
Dawson.
else.
Oh yeah,
that's
Calvert, right.
Dawson,
Then she took
and then
Dawson's
Calvert
name.
later
Yeah.
on. Yes.
Yes,
exactly.
Calvert.
Yes, because
Forgot about that.
her granddaughter's name I think is Lizzie Calvert, which I remember, Katie, when you were on this show already like a year and a half ago. I'm glad you're back.
Yeah.
We were talking about another James Cameron massive movie, T2, Terminator
Yes.
2. And I remember we were talking about the many wives of James Cameron.
Yes.
And how funny, because he would be married to, Catherine Bigelow, Linda Hunt, for like 2 years at a time. But he married Susie Amos, I believe is her name, who is the granddaughter
Yes.
in this movie. And
Yes.
shockingly enough, knock on wood, I hope we're not jinxing him, 22 years later, they got married in 2000. They're still together.
They're still going
So,
strong. Fifth
they're still going
time's
strong.
the charm, James.
Yes.
Fifth time's the
So,
charm.
A lesson for us all. If it doesn't work
Yeah.
out the first 4 times, there's always
Yes.
the 5th.
And
So-
he was still technically married to Linda Hamilton.
Hamilton,
when
yes,
he-
not Linda Hunt.
But they
Oh my God,
were
I said-
separated. Did you say?
Yes.
Oh no, nowhere. I knew what you
I
meant.
said Linda Hunt. Yeah, whoops.
yeah.
Totally different Linda. Sorry, Hamilton.
Sorry, but they were separated at the time. To be fair, yeah, they're still going strong. And I always remember my mom made this comment. She's like, he always dates age appropriate. She's like, I'll give him that. He goes through wives, but he's always dating age appropriate. He's not dating like the 20-year-old.
That's
so,
true. You're right. Because, Susie was, I think, younger than him. I forget how old he
Yeah.
is now, but he's obviously getting up there.
Yeah.
So I think she was younger than Linda Hamilton, but not by much.
And not by
it's
much,
funny,
yeah.
She's definitely playing younger because I'm like,
yes.
well, I know Rose throughout the kind of current modern day, back in 97, she's 101 years old. And I think Lizzie is supposed to be, I guess, early 20s. So she's probably really like mid or late 20s. So it works out. There's not that big of an age gap. But yeah, that's a good point. He's never went like for the Kate Winslets or, the, like who turned 21 during the making of this movie. So
I forgot. Yeah, I couldn't remember how old she actually, because she's supposed to be 17. But yeah, I knew she was older, but not okay. Yeah.
And Leo was right around there as well. They're only a year apart, I think. So he was 22.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God. Can you imagine being in your early 20s when we're absolute idiots, absolute morons, and you have the weight of this massive movie on your shoulders? It's actually amazing that the two of them didn't like go crazy. You know,
they almost did.
Especially Kate Winslet. I mean, she wasn't brand new. She was in Sense and Sensibility and other things, you know, but this was a massive movie for her. Like a lot of people saw her for the first time. I mean, thank God she didn't lose her mind, but I know.
She almost did. She almost did quit because she was she went through it. I have written down all the injuries, but yeah. Ooh. So she was close. And Leo said if he ever did another action movie, he would only do it with James Cameron because it was so grueling. Like, yeah, so.
Thanks so much for watching. Next time, there's going to be a new movie that we'll talk about, so stay tuned. And please follow Release Date Rewind on Instagram for updates. Bye.